In the morning when I rise, give me Jesus.
Good morning. Well, we've been talking about Holy Spirit for some time, and we've been saying that if you have said yes to Jesus, if you're a believing believer, then you have the Holy Spirit with you and even in you. And yesterday we said that if you walk with an awareness of that, if that's the reality for you and you know it, then you are a child of God, a child of the Most High God. You've been born again, born of God. You have God DNA in you now. You're not even a human being anymore. You've been made spiritual, and we'll talk about that down the road sometime. But today what I want to talk about is how as a child of God, you're not under the law anymore. I'll show you that first in Galatians chapter 5, and verse 18 says this: if you are led by the Spirit, and that's every believing believer, then you are not under the law. That's huge. See, when Jesus came, the whole point of Jesus coming was to wash you completely clean, so that now God Himself, by Holy Spirit, could dwell in you and give you life and lead you in the ways of righteousness so that you would walk in a way that would not be bound up by the enemy, but rather free to receive God's love and even let that love flow through to others. And so, you are not under law anymore. Well, if I'm not under law, what am I? Well, you're under grace. And we see that in Romans 6, verse 14, and it says this: sin shall not be the master over you, because you are not under law, you're under grace. Oh, we need to see the power of being under the grace of God. It has set you free from the law that was oppressive, that Paul called it the ministry of death. Oh, as we walk with the Lord, then we have no obligation to the law. In fact, it says in Romans 10 verse 4, I love it that it's Romans 10 verse 4, because if you ever had a CB or were involved in the CB world, 10-4 was a real positive response. 10-4, good buddy. And this is a really positive thing. Romans 10 verse 4 says, for Christ is the end of the law for righteousness for everyone who believes. And so, we're not under the law. We are under the grace of God. So what are you telling me, Dave? Should I just go sin like crazy now that I'm not under the law? I have never said that. I will never say that. Jesus is the end of the law for righteousness' sake. You're not under the law. God is not measuring you whether or not you're being a good boy or a good girl according to the law. However, don't be stupid. The rules are there for your sake and for the sake of the victims that you would be offending. It says in Romans chapter 6 and verse 15, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under law but under grace? May it never be. Look at 17. Thanks be to God that though you were a slave of sin, now you have become obedient from the heart to that form of teaching which you are committed, and having been freed from sin, you became slaves of righteousness. Oh, how does that happen? It happens as you walk with Holy Spirit. Well, that's the reality of the gospel. The gospel of grace sets you free to walk with Holy Spirit in a way that gives you life and is pleasing to God. Behold that today. We'll talk some more about Holy Spirit and how He sets you free to really live the abundant life that Jesus has for us when we get together tomorrow. God bless you in your day today.
Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus.